My name is Harrison Homan, and today I'll be performing a speech. And the purpose of this speech is to show the arguments for and against free universal public health care. The point of this speech is so that people can get a good idea of what the arguments are and educate themselves so that they can make an informed opinion on where they stand on the issue. Should it be the government's job to supply us with health care at the bill of the taxpayer? Or should Americans have a free market choice of which health providers they choose to pay for themselves? There are a lot of moral and ethical and financial arguments to this issue that every American should understand if they are to make an informed opinion on the subject. With that being the case, today I'll be starting my speech for the arguments for universal health care, and I will be showing you two arguments, and then leading on, I will be giving two arguments against universal health care. In 2018, the U.S. Census found that 8.5% of Americans did not have health insurance. The number is roughly 27 million people who could not afford it. With this many people that can't afford health insurance, it raises a question of what are they to do? Should they just go without health care if they don't make as much money as someone else? This definitely brings up an ethical issue of should we let that many people, 27.5 million people, just go untreated? Also, 11.5% of Americans live at or below the poverty line. Medicine and medicine bills in general are very expensive, and with that many people living at the poverty line, that still brings up the same question of whether or not they should just go without health care, which is definitely a hot topic issue right now. The next argument for universal health care is that it could solve a large amount of our systematic racism in America. Black Americans make up the majority of those that are uninsured for health care. With that being said, this shows systematic racism towards Black people. For instance, Black Americans, on average, cost 22 to 35% more to care for end-of-life treatment than when compared to white Americans. This definitely shows systematic racism, and one of the arguments is if we had free health care, that'd be free health care for all, and white people wouldn't be able to game the system to be able to get or afford more health care than people who are Black. Now I will be showing an argument against universal health care. The first argument against universal health care is that it would be very expensive. And on top of that, most of the expenses would come from the American taxpayer. If it were to be a tax-based free healthcare system, which is the only way it's ever been shown to work, is that it would be a multi-level tax system, basically meaning the people who make the most in America, the 1%, they would be taxed the most, and it would trickle down until people at the very lowest of the income level would pay little to no taxes. This would still raise taxes considerably for everyone in America. For instance, I have a little graphic here. Now, I do work 5 days a week, and I don't own a printer, and my printer here at my apartment system was closed for the night. So I did my best to draw this out here. I hope you can see this. So pretty much what this shows is how they do it in Sweden. So in Sweden, after $98,000, I rounded it up to $100,000. After you make $100,000 in this case, everything after that is taxed at 70%. So essentially what that means, if you made $100,000, after that, taxes, you would still have your $100,000 because you didn't go above that tax range. Now, I know that you would still have other taxes to show, but since I didn't take those off for any of these levels, it's pretty much a constant. So next up, as you see, when you go to $200,000, you are now making $100,000 above the break-off, so you are now being taxed at 70% on all the money over that $100,000. So after that tax range, you would bring home $130,000 if you were making $200,000 a year. I then showed what would happen if you made $500,000 a year. If you make $500,000 a year, $400,000 of those dollars would be taxed at 70%, meaning you would only bring home $220,000. That is one of the main arguments of people who are against public universal health care, because if you're to make $500,000 and you work hard for that money, you don't want to walk away with only $220,000 of it. Another big issue with the argument for public universal health care that people have a problem with is that the wait times tend to get a lot higher. If you look at Canada, for example, Canada's wait times to get just seen by a physician are up to 3 months. America is the third largest nation in the world when you're looking at population, and Canada is only the 39th. A lot of people like to look to Scandinavian countries for social programs and that sort of thing, and the Scandinavian countries have a very, very low population. So I figured the best place to look at for advice, I guess, would be Canada, because Canada is very close to America in how we do our politics and everything else. So I figured it'd be a good example. Again, they are 39th in population to our third. So one would only guess that if we adopted a public free healthcare system, the wait times to see a doctor would be astronomically long. It'd be like going to the DMV, perhaps. Another issue is that the doctors who are being paid less tend to leave the country to go to a place that would pay them more. I mean, who doesn't want to get paid the most? I mean, you ask anybody, who doesn't want to get a raise, who doesn't want to get ahead, who doesn't want to make more money in life? So a lot of these countries are seeing issues where the quality of healthcare is going down because so many of the doctors are leaving to get more competitive pay. After hearing all of these arguments, two arguments for universal health care, the one where it would solve systematic racism and it would be it would help everybody and not just a select few, and then the arguments against public health care being that it costs a whole lot of money, and also that it would definitely increase the wait times. What would you guys think would be the best measure to take? There's definitely a lot on the table, and at the end of the day, I think everyone who has listened to this will have a good idea of what the issues are and be able to fall into a range of what they think that America should do. Thank you so much for listening to my speech. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.